Over-explaining, saying too much, often happens to those of us who were neglected or not heard as a kid. And sometimes where we didn't actually have our parents around for a certain period of time. So it leads to a trauma that sits in the body as anxious attachment. So that means that when you're having to set a boundary, you're having to say no to somebody, you totally over explain it to try and make sure that the other person doesn't feel bad, or you just don't maintain a boundary and you give in, and afterwards you feel that it's like, oh, what did I do that for? And we feel bad. So this is typically because that young part of us feels very unsure, unsettled when we have to set up that boundary. It's like that young part of us feels like it's the end of the world. Often people feel it in their chest, sometimes in their throat, if they don't feel like they have a voice, or they felt like they really weren't heard in a relationship or in as a kid. So our job is to identify what that feels like in our body. Ideally, the experience that stands most out for you when this occurred, and that we look after this part of ourselves, right? Get a visual of that age of you. What was the body language, the look on the face, the look in the eyes? Write about this if you can, or talk to your therapist about it, or talk to one of our therapists about it. But there's a way to move this through us so that we get real clarity about that part of us, and we figure out how to look after it, how to hear it, so that that young part of us experiences feeling valued and heard and seen and loved and cared for, and that as the adult part connects with it, that we make a commitment that we're not going to ignore it or shun it or shame it, that we're going to value this part of us. So it's like we're listening to our body, we're listening to our history, and often it goes back successive generations. So there's a lot to this. If we unpack it, then we own it. Then we notice, oh, there's my anxious attachment wanting me to do this or that, or to over explain, talk too much.